mine, you belong to me, I will never free you. You're here with me to stay. You're mine, you are mine completely. Love me strong or sweetly. I need you night and day. Arm in arm, hand in hand, we will be found together, heart to heart, lips to lips. We're chained and bound together. I own you. I don't need to buy love. You're a slave to my love. In every way, you're mine. Arm in arm, hand in hand, we will be found together, heart to heart, lips to lips. We're chained and bound together. I own you. I don't need to buy love. You're a slave to my love. In every way, you're mine. You're mine. In every way, you're
I search for phrases to sing your praises, but there aren't any magic adjectives to tell you all you are.
Good morning. My name is Susan Reardon. I'm the staff hearing officer, and I'm calling the meeting of Wednesday, January 27th to order. Today we have 3 items on the agenda, and I'm not aware of any changes, right?
I am not.
Okay, so we'll take the items as they are listed on our agenda. And I don't have any announcements or appeals, right? Oh, good. Okay. Now, is there anybody in the audience who would like to address the staff hearing officer on items not on our agenda today? Seeing no one, we'll go to the first item, which is 3043 Hermosa Road. If you'd like to come up to the table. And anytime you're ready.
Thank you. Good morning. Project site located in Samarkand area. It's currently located with a single-family residence here and a 2-car garage accessed off the driveway. The proposed project involves partial demolition or complete demolition of the existing garage and a minor expansion of its currently existing substandard dimensions. Not only is the garage located in the setback, it measures with an interior of approximately 17.5 by 17.5. The rebuilt garage is also being proposed to have a second-story accessory structure above. The second-story accessory space, though, will observe all required setbacks. So it's going to step in the required 6 feet. Because of the amount of floor area being added, as well as being added previously to the residence, the zoning ordinance requires that the non-conforming parking dimensions be brought up to 2 covered spaces. Typically, that means an interior dimension of 20 by 20, but in this case, the applicant has applied for and received a waiver from the transportation planning staff to allow dimensions that are slightly different. 18.5 interior dimension on the width has been approved in that extending the garage to 20 is actually not going to create a usable area due to the maneuver requirements to get in here. Staff had initially requested that due to the garage being demoed, let's just build the whole thing back out. But the applicant's position, as well as transportation planning staff, to put the garage over here makes for a very awkward maneuver, and would possibly even require demolition of a portion of the house here to make the maneuver to meet our standards. The applicant is also asking, though, when he expands the garage, to allow this portion, this corner, to be built back and expanded so that the minimum 20-foot dimension can be accomplished. He's actually asking, can it be 22 feet deep to provide a small, workbench in the back for, typical garage accessory type activity. It's staff's position that although we can understand the expansion of the garage in the setback to obtain the 20-foot minimum depth, that allows for a uniform improvement and bringing up the dimensions to our current standard. The additional 2 feet being requested is just adding accessory in a setback, which is typically something that we don't support. Staff is asking for the staff hearing officer to consider the request, and although we understand that the amount of expansion in the setback is very minor, we're asking that it be reduced to be the 10-foot square feet overall, not the 20 feet that the applicant is requesting. All other parts of the project, well, actually, this is the extent of the work being proposed at this time, comply with current yard requirements and setbacks, except for the yellow highlighted area. We're asking with a reduction of that to not exceed the 20-foot depth of the garage, be approved as submitted.
Great, thank you. If you'd like to state your name for the record and add any additional comments.
I'm Mark Sackow. I'm the property owner.
Okay.
And I'm Chris Jensel, the project architect.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Certainly I would very much like to add a couple things, and Mark would as well. So the 2 feet that we're talking about that we would like to have approved today is this rear portion here. And while staff has not given a positive recommendation for that, we feel that there are outstanding positive considerations that we would like you to know about. And one is that in the rear of the property there is an Edison box here. And associated with that Edison box is an Edison easement in this rear area along the back of the property. And the owners, having lived here for over 35 years, have been the exclusive people that have maintained this hedge. It's about a 10-foot hedge. It's in the photographs. And the point being that there is a very well-developed, mature screen that's controlled by the owner here. So what we're asking for, which is very, very minor, actually has a huge benefit to both the architecture of the building. Imagine this corner being sort of taken out like a bite, which is what that would be our fallback position. And it has a huge benefit to the practicality and the use of the garage because the other owner who could not be here is a hobbyist of sorts, and over the last 35 years has enjoyed a workbench that's in the back of this garage. And so the conforming option to having this type of workbench would be putting it on the exterior of the building, which we could do. However, there's a lot of noise associated with that, pounding and scraping and whatnot. And so we just feel it would be a much better option to put it inside and have it inside in a way where we can maintain that 20 feet, not be having to reduce the 20 feet that would otherwise be for the cars. There is a supporting letter from this neighbor here who would like to see the project as presented today be approved, and that is to say that the neighbor who's been here also for 35 years is supportive of this small piece here. So that's the piece that I wanted to share with you,
Okay.
that you would be able to consider that. And I understand that staff can't and doesn't want to generally make positive comments in the report for these types of things so as not to start a precedent. And my point is that we would not be really starting a precedent, and that we have a unique situation in that we have this easement in the rear with the hedge that is controlled by the owner.
Okay, great, thank you. Did you want to add anything more?
Only that our biggest concern from the beginning was that it aesthetically addresses the neighborhood, the project as a whole, and that by enclosing the workspace, it provides even more protection to the neighbors than currently exists.
Okay, great, thank you.
May I add one more thing?
Sure.
I think probably hands down, all of the members on the SFDB board would prefer the project with that additional 2 feet in width. And I do believe they would support, the project if we had to take the bite out of it. But I think if they were here today, each of them, given a straw vote, would probably prefer the project going forward with that additional 2 feet. So I believe we'd also have their support.
Okay, great, thank you. I'd like to open the public hearing for 3043 Hermosa Road. Is there anyone here who would like to address the staff hearing officer? No, seeing one. I just see you received, or you gave me a letter from the neighbor. Must be the one over here that you were
This is the one
talking
to our
about.
south,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, have we received any other letters, Gloria? No. All right, I'll close the public hearing. I've read the staff report, and I went out to the site yesterday and walked around and looked at the area. It's really nicely landscaped right now. You've done a great job in your backyard. However, the findings I need to make, which are in the staff report, is that it's consistent with the purposes and intent of the zoning ordinance. And we have the setbacks for separation of uses, provide relief between property lines. And in your instance, you have an existing garage that is within the setback, and you're asking for an increased encroachment. And as Ms. Milazzo had said, generally we do support modifications for a conforming addition. It goes in the streamline effect. So this would go to your argument too, how you add on and then for 20 feet and then pop in. It's more architecturally, it's more consistent to pop out and have an angle here. However, when we look at the uses of a single-family zone, such as a garage or accessory uses, as you pointed out, tend to be more noisy, and they are more appropriate to move away from the neighbor's property line, so you're not being obnoxious or causing conflict between the two uses. So in my opinion, to have an accessory use in the setback is not an appropriate use of a single-family zone, and I could support where staff's coming from. I don't know that, looking at the floor plan of the garage, that reducing it by the 4 feet in this area here, if that is...
I'm sorry,
Just
reducing
2
it by 4 feet?
well, sorry. Okay, it's 2 feet this way, and it's 4 feet this way, right?
5 feet that way, yeah.
Oh, right, because 6 is minus 1 is 5, okay. So reducing the bench in, you still have a large area here for your bench. I'm not sure, is this a storage area here?
That's sort of a space under a stairway that would probably be used for storage or something.
Or-
It's hard to get to, but it's space.
Yeah, I don't know how I could get to the conclusion that having the accessory space in the setback is an appropriate improvement consistent with a zoning ordinance.
Do you think having the accessory space outside where the noise would not be attenuated would be a better solution, given that it would be out of the setback, than having it enclosed in the building, even though it is in the setback?
We'd still have, you'd have to comply with the noise ordinance. I don't know what kind of work's going on there.
Just
A
general
backyard, the backyards typically have different uses going on. And I can't support having accessory space in the interior setback.
Even though it would have no impact to the neighbor. I mean, what impact would it really have? Could you
I'm
state that?
talking about the purposes and intent of the zoning ordinance and the separation of uses between property lines. And so this is a setback area. You are benefiting now from a building that encroaches in the setback, and now you're asking for a increase in that, or an intensification of that encroachment. And the intensification that you're asking for is both a garage and accessory space. And I can support the garage expansion because it makes it more conforming to our minimum code requirements, but I can't say that an accessory use in the setback is an appropriate use of the setback area. There's adequate areas, other places that you could put a separate accessory building to accommodate the work space type uses you want. And so I can't support the full 22-foot depth. I could go the 20-foot depth. Okay. So with that, I make the findings outlined in the staff report and approve the partial expansion of your garage within the setback. And my action is appealable to the Planning Commission within 10 calendar days. And if you wish to appeal it, it's here at our planning counter versus City Hall. All the other appeal bodies are at City Hall. And they also have oversight authority of all my actions. And if they feel this warrants additional discussion before them, they have the ability within that same 10-day period to call it up. Okay?
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Susie. See you after the hearing.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is 1218 Coast Village Road. If the applicant would like to come up. Yes, would you like to come up, Jim?
I'm the owner of the property.
Okay. Hi. Nice to meet you. This is for the TV audience. So they can, yes.
It's outfitted.
Beautiful.
Anytime you're ready, Pete. Right here. Here's a pointer if you need it.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. The project is located at 1280 Coast Village Road, stuck on 1235. 1280 Coast Village Road, and currently there is a restaurant as Los Arroyos occupying the site, and the site here on the left, on the right is was permitted, and then the restaurant space included the one on the left that was a retail area. Because we're in the coastal zone, it requires a permit for change of use from retail to restaurant. And the applicant is proposing to have 21 seats. The site currently does not have any parking, and was permitted that way. And as part of the project, they'll be providing parking on site, and a total of 6 parking spaces to be provided. And then over here on the one, right in here is the whole site, and a curb cut is right here to drive in, come around, and exit Coastal Village Road. Parking will be provided along that property line. Go to the next page. So, for the additional restaurant, 6 parking spaces to be provided along this area. That was reviewed by Transportation Planning. There was adequate backup room, and there is outdoor seating here, an existing patio, and finally 3 additional spaces, seats would be provided in the main part. The original permit was for 21 seats, and as proposed, they'd have 3 additional seats, and parking would be provided for that. So
a total of 45 seats? 24 plus 21?
45, yeah. So the new dining area is, sorry, the numbers are still off, but as proposed, 25. That's right, a total of 25 when combined with additional seats here and here. And parking will be provided for that.
So you're saying there's 21 legal now,
Correct.
and they're proposing to add 25. So that's actually 46.
Correct.
Okay.
And then finally, there's a existing dining area in here now be converted to a office, and the double doors be removed and taken down to a single door. At a later date, they may turn it into a bathroom if it will comply with building code. And so, what we have right now is when you go to the site, you find more seats inside, and as proposed, to reduce that back down in order to be consistent with the municipal code parking requirement.
Okay.
This plan is not the latest one.
Oh, sorry for that.
The newer plan shows this actually as storage, and we're taking the double doors out and just putting a solid door in.
Let's see.
Okay, was that it, Pete?
That'd be it.
Yeah.
So it's a new department, right?
Okay. If you'd like to state your, are you done?
I'm done.
If you'd like to state your name for the record and add anything
I'm
else?
Jim Buster, and I'm representing Los Arroyos. And this is Tony Arroyo, the tenant, and Judy Foreman, the property owner.
Okay.
So basically, we're looking at a CDP, right, for this, and that's you know, the seating and so forth. I've shown it here to comply with the parking standards and also the parking requirements, and also building code requirements. It's going to be a restaurant under 49 or 49 or less occupants. And so that's really about it. And so we're providing the parking. We've been to ABR and gotten that approved, and the planters and all of that. So the CDP was came up later on in a zoning plan check when it was submitted to the building department.
Okay, now what about outside seats? When I went out to the site yesterday, and these seats aren't here now.
Right.
And in this area, there's, I think, was 20 or some odd in this area. What are you doing on the outside seats?
We're reducing the number of seats in the patio to 16, and then adding these three here, these three tables, which is another 6 seats. And that keeps it under the 50% of the interior seating, so as not to affect the parking.
So 46 inside, and the 46 is would also include any potential bar seats here. I didn't see any yesterday.
No, this is a service bar. It's not a.
Okay, so it's not a bar.
No, it's not a bar.
Okay.
Yeah, there will be no seating there.
All right. I'd like to open the public hearing. Is there anyone here who would like to address the staff hearing officer on 1280 Coast Village Road? No? Have we received any letters? No, Gloria? No either? Okay. So I'll close the public hearing. Like I said, I went out to the site yesterday and stayed there a little bit trying to get an idea of the comings and goings. I went around lunch hour. I know I've been there before at lunch hour, and the main issue here, I think, is just the parking, and the parking is driven by the number of seats, and the whole Coast Village Road area.
Village Road is a lunchtime
Haven.
Yeah, everybody likes to come there, and it's always been an issue.
So for me, what's important is to get really clear on what's there now, how many seats are you actually adding, and then again in terms of the parking. So that's why I was asking clarifications on how many additional inside are you adding, and you're aware of our internal policy that if you provide less than 50% of the interior seats outside, then it doesn't trigger additional parking. We see the
Correct.
majority of the uses inside the building.
This plan was actually, I think, what is there now. And this is where we removed the seating from here. And so we're adding 24 to the 24. This room will have 24 seats. This room is right now permitted at 21, so we'll be adding 9 seats to that. Is that right? I have to admit, once I work with the building and fire a little more, some of this will change a little bit to meet building and fire codes.
Well, in terms of my review, it's just more important on the total number of seats, and you can decide if there's 5 in one and 40 in the other. It doesn't. In
Right,
terms of
however
zoning,
the mix is,
yeah. So the total number of seats. Now, Pete, you had mentioned that transportation staff, and I see Chelsea there too, has looked at the parking layout plan, and so this right now I guess there's striped parking, but it's not recognized as being
That's
legal from the
correct.
city.
That's correct.
This space 5, and I guess transportation, you've used your template on it. I'm just visioning, I guess you just come in and wait for the person to come out and then just back up and hope someone else didn't come in. I mean, how functional is 5? Is there adequate? Because here's space 4 coming out, and then the planter, and then 5's right here.
Yeah, this actually isn't a planter. No, this isn't a planter. No.
It's just going to be
That's because there's an Edison box there and so forth.
Here we go. Right.
Yeah, so that's really open just because of the access required for the...
Oh, so it's not a raised curb or anything? It's just painted on it?
Exactly. That will just be painted. That's all flat.
But this is raised curb here, right?
That is, right.
Okay.
Well, and I think what we went over is typically, someone would pull in here and back into this space, just parallel park into that space.
That's correct. That's how you get in and out of the space, and it's actually striped as 24 feet, which is pretty large
Pretty liberal.
for parallel space, and with even that additional room at the end, it's going to probably be, in reality, longer. So I did check it with templates, making sure it didn't overlap with the other spaces.
Okay. And then the other question I was wondering, this area 2 is just going to be crosshatched, no parking?
That's correct.
There's not a way to kind of finagle this to get 2 in here?
I've tried.
Oh, really?
It doesn't work.
I think that was driven probably with some landscaping
Well, yeah,
requirements through design review.
adding
we talked about
these,
that as well.
these planners, changed, and actually, we added a planner here as well.
It'll be an improvement over what's there.
Yeah, I think the plantings will provide screening for this area, which is, I think, going to be a big improvement. And it will also, I think it sort of directs traffic away from the parked cars this way.
The original proposal included doing some bicycle parking and motorcycle parking right there, but it really seemed a little awkward to put bicycle parking there in the middle of a parking lot and be a little bit of a conflict. And so that's why we recommend they actually take that out, because over here you have opportunity for bicycle parking at that breezeway, and you don't have bicycles coming down here, and especially with people maybe backing out into them. So that's why we just want to keep it simple.
It's an awkward spot, and it's unfortunate, but it's trying to get another. And see, the other problem is you can see this narrows as it's kind of a little bit of a pie shape there. So if we try squeezing things back down this way, we still can't get another space in here. So it just turns into be a little bit of a dead space there.
Right. Now, this planter is not on your property, right? Or is it on your...
It is there, but there's no plans at all.
There's not plants? But is it on the neighbor's property, or is it on your property?
I think that's kind of like city, I don't know, that's, you've got the city stuff and then we,
I believe this is actually belongs to Long's.
CVS now.
CVS.
It's a shared, it's been a shared area. I mean, we've made it look pretty, they've like let it just go.
And so you'll be able to keep it up?
Well, yeah, we
That's
have
the
a,
idea.
we have a service that is there every week that manages the whole property landscaping, Progressive Land Care.
Okay. All right. Well, I think the use of a restaurant in this area, it's appropriate use. The coastal plan talks about Coast Village Road being visitor serving uses, and I know it does. It serves both the visitor and, locals. I've gone there for lunch before. I think it's a good use, good location. As we've discussed, my concerns focus around parking. That's a general concern of the whole Coast Village Road area. I don't know that changing the use from the office to the restaurant's going to significantly change that. You are formalizing the parking that's there and upgrading it.
Well, Susan, remember all the, for years where they had all the real estate companies coming there?
Yeah.
I mean, they were really clogging the parking everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing is that there is parking. Over here on Coast Village Circle.
Right.
I've always been able to find a spot there.
That's where you go for the farmer's market, park on that
Right,
street.
yeah, so that's at least fairly handy there.
Okay, well, I can make the findings outline in the staff report. I do want to make a change to the conditions under B1, which talks about the approved development. So to specify that it's a total of 46 restaurant bar seats will be provided. Restaurant and bar seats, although this is not a bar, just to let you know, it's the 46-seat maximum is within the whole interior space.
Right.
And so, although there's not any proposed now, if a different tenant were to come in, just to know that it's 46 seats combined, whether they're at a table or at the bar.
Okay,
So it
just
doesn't-
as a note, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't affect you. And then just, I wanted to take out the part where it says it currently has no approved parking area and just specify there's 6 parking spaces going to be provided.
Okay.
And then I don't know that I need to specify a maximum number outside, since that is a policy that if you go over it, you're going to need to get more parking and you're going to need to come in for another coastal permit. So would staff be recommending that I add a requirement for the outside, limiting it at 22, which is about half?
Well, as part of the description, it can say patio seating is 22 spaces.
Okay, well, I'll
As
just
part of a
Put
description.
it as a condition, right?
I'll just add it in there as what the approved development is, that a total of 46 restaurant and bar seats will be provided inside and 22 out on the patio. And that would be fine.
That'll be good for future clarification.
Yeah, you need that.
Well, great. So I approve your project, make the findings outlined in the staff report, subject to the conditions as we just revised them. My action's appealable to the Planning Commission within 10 calendar days. And like I said on the item before, I think you were sitting in the audience. They also have oversight authority, and if they felt this warrants additional discussion before them, if some community-wide effect of the project, they have the ability to call it up during that same 10-day period.
Okay.
And Mr. Lawson would contact you if that were to occur.
Okay.
Okay?
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Next item is 1006 and 1008 Chino Street. If the applicant would like to come up. Thanks, Chelsea. Thank you. Anytime you're ready, Dan.
Okay.
So this project is located at 1006, 1008 Chino Street. This is in the Lower West neighborhood at the southern terminus of Chino Street. It's approximately a quarter-acre lot, this one here. So what's on the site right now are 2 single-family residences and a detached garage. All structures on site would be demolished with this project. And what's proposed is a 1-lot subdivision for residential condominiums. And there would be 3 2-story, 3-bedroom condos. They would range in size from approximately 1,100 to 1,200 square feet, and each would provide garages for 2 cars for parking. Also included would be the continuation of the modified cul-de-sac on Chino Street. The left portion of this was built with a condominium project to the south. And the existing driveway would shift toward the northern property line. And there's also sidewalk improvements included. So the landscape plan includes removal of some trees in the front yard setback area. So the landscape plan is
There you go. One more. Oh, this is tree removal.
Yeah. So the Parks Department did approve these tree removals previously, subject to ABR approval. So the ABR has reviewed this project on 3 different occasions, most recently on Monday. And I have the unapproved minutes. On Monday, they did the compatibility analysis after continuing the project to staff hearing officer. And the unapproved minutes read as follows. So the compatibility analysis is as follows. The proposed project complies with the design guidelines and is consistent with the city charter and applicable municipal code requirements. The project's design is compatible with the city and architectural character of the neighborhood. The project's mass, bulk, scale, and height are appropriate for the neighborhood. There's no impact to adjacent city landmarks, adjacent historic resources, or established public views of mountains or ocean. The project's design provides acceptable, appropriate amount of open space and landscaping. The second comment in the motion is return with architectural drawings, including details, plate heights, and sections. Study the fenestrations for consistency. Study the deck cantilevers and add architectural details such as corbels, etc. And study opportunities to increase landscaping. So the environmental analyst determined that the project is categorically exempt from CEQA, and staff is recommending that you approve the project subject to the conditions in Exhibit 1 in the staff report. And I do want to note that on the sheet, P10 states that future public sidewalk is to be installed when neighbors develop, and that note is over here in front of the neighboring property, and the recommended conditions, and staff would like this to be part of the current project. So the recommendation is that all of this gets built out as shown, and the public improvements are done prior to certificate of occupancy.
Okay, great, thanks. And there's no mods requested, right?
No modifications are requested with this project.
All right. If you'd like to state your name for the record and add anything you'd like to add.
Thank you. My name is Kenneth Kruger. I'm an architect on the project. And to my left is Edwin Bertling, who's one of the owners of the project. The story poles are up. Did you get a chance to go by and see those? Mm-hmm. Good.
Before the rain.
Yeah, before the rain.
It's a little window of opportunity there.
Yeah, right. So those are up, and they clearly show that the project was not interfering with any problems adjacent properties. We have the project really kind of hinged around the cul-de-sac on Chino Street, that shows the story poles and adjacent properties. The cul-de-sac on the south side was, as the planner has stated, was developed by the developer on the south side of the street, and they didn't build it in conformance with the fire department recommendations. So we negotiated and talked and worked with the fire department, and even with the penetration into our property, it still doesn't meet the requirements, other than the fact that we have provided a hammerhead backup, so that if there's any emergency vehicles that have to go down to the end of the cul-de-sac, they can get out safely.
I think I saw that noted on this one. So,
Right.
So how far do they want to go into your property?
About 25 feet.
Oh,
So it'd be about in line with this.
This right here.
Right here. Yeah. So they have approved that, and so that we finally were able to resolve that problem to their satisfaction. The buildings all are in keeping with the architecture of the neighborhood, and we've tried to design the landscaping to complement the architecture. We feel that what we have here is going to be a positive addition to the neighborhood, and I'd be glad to answer any questions or comments that you might have.
okay, great, thank you. Did you want to add anything more, or?
Well, I mean, it's just that I think it was good that we came to a reasonable solution, that we ended up with a bulb that kept the continuity of the cul-de-sac.
Right.
So that I think when the finished product will work well with the end of the street, the neighborhood. But I do feel that we've created the decks. Everything faces towards the driveway. We're not looking out at the other neighbors. It's inside. We're kind of keeping the project, and we've staggered them and trying to make them look more like three small homes instead of a basic, condo all in a row. We're trying to get away from that.
Now the maximum height was
21.6.
21.6.
26. Okay, so 22. Since you mentioned the decks,
I should note, ABR recommended that they keep below 23 feet for the project. They stated that. But it wasn't part of their motion.
But one suggestion that was made was that we might want to increase the height of the first floor so that we can have some more volume in the living dining room area on the first floor, and also so that we can add some differentiation between the first and second floors, and do some architectural delineation. And when we get into increasing the size of these elevations and presenting them at a quarter scale, we'll be able to study that carefully.
This might be this is from the rear of the property, looking at it. So these are the story poles. This is the adjoining neighbor.
Right.
So you can see the roof lines are fairly consistent. We're not up here or...
Now this is just a single story, but on a raised foundation?
Correct.
Exactly.
And it's raised about almost a half a floor.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, it would give you an idea, and like I said, their views and decks are all out, and this is a schoolyard that's on this side. But I thought these story poles would give you, it's a better view than trying to see it from the Chino side.
When I was at the site afterwards, I went and drove around in the parking lot and looked. And
good. Okay,
get an
well
idea of
then
where
you
can
saw
see.
that. Okay, so I just thought.
Now, in terms of the decks, I understand your explanation saying they're pointed to either the other unit or the driveway area. That there is some, I can't see on this plan, I know it's on another plan, what's the relationship to the neighbor, and then same over here where it wraps around. What kind of provisions are you providing to kind of increase the privacy between the two?
Shows, I think, on the previous sheet, the relationship. This is the existing adjacent building here.
Okay. I don't have my... So it ends...
So at the first floor, just as their orientation is towards the playground, our orientation is towards the playground.
And what's up here?
And on the second floor, we have this deck, which is oriented towards the space between the buildings, this deck towards the parking, and this deck towards the parking. So this deck, one of the things that we had talked about doing was to put a solid end on this deck so that would tend to screen any views going towards the adjacent neighbor, even though it isn't actually towards the house, because the house is
This line right here is where it starts?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then how about on this side with this deck?
What's happening over on this side is that this is a vacant piece of property. The house, here's the house right here.
And I think they believe there's a garage down here somewhere.
There was a garage, but it's not there now.
Oh, this right here?
Yeah, it shows it like there's a garage there, but there's a slab there now.
There's this too.
Is that something more recent?
Well, this is just off the internet. This is live maps or something, right?
And then there's these avocado trees, which are extensive along this property line, which will screen. They're actually on the adjacent property.
Yeah, that's actually another question.
Yes.
So you're saying you can propose it to be solid, or you are proposing it's going to be solid?
I think that's something that I'm going to be studying, and I would, I think that would be probably a good thing to do, would be to make the end of the deck on the second floor solid, so that it would screen the views to the neighbors on both sides. Although, as you can see here, there's this huge avocado tree here.
Well, yeah, and it encroaches over onto your property.
Does, yeah. So we're going to have to do some, in order to build a building, we'll have to do some screen, or not, what do you call it?
Trimming.
Trimming, yeah.
Or pruning, yeah.
Pruning, yeah, that's the word, I guess.
Oh, there's no tree protection measures in here, right? Or tree, since they're proposing to remove most of them?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh.
Okay.
We're adding a number of trees to the property, so it's going to compensate for this.
I believe the only one staying on the subject property is the Canary Island Date Palm.
Okay. The other area, if you can discuss, since there's portion of this needs to be the Hammerhead turnaround.
Yes.
Now I noticed, like in this area, it's noted as permeable paving. Is that just where?
All of this is permeable paving.
Oh, and they'll let you do it up here where the fire trucks can turn around?
Yes, you can, as long as there's an underlayment below the permeable paving that will support the loads.
Okay.
You have to indicate and prove that to the fire department's satisfaction.
Okay, so the whole thing. And then I saw your drainage.
Yes, this is all the those plastic buckets that go in underground, and this has been designed by our civil engineer to absorb all the moisture that accumulates on the site, so that there's no runoff in either direction.
Okay, good. That was a question I had at the site. I was asking Dan regarding what kind of grading, because it does slope down away from the street.
Yes.
And how that is going to work.
There's a plan right here showing these units that go underneath, they go underground, and the water permeates down through the gravel on both sides and into these areas, and then permeates down into the groundwater. There's another section of them down there.
Okay.
They're all engineered to, and here's the section at the back of this building B, where the water will be absorbed into the ground.
And then the other question I had was regarding the tenant displacement ordinance. the 2 units on there now, I'm assuming, are rental. And I didn't see any discussion or conditions related to that.
I can address that. Nobody has been there for over 2 years. What my construction firm, Monarch Building Specialists, what I am doing, the one building has just been vacant the whole time. But what I did, we're using the back garage for hand tools and scaffold, and then my superintendent's using the other building for an office, construction office, and then he lives in Ojai, so I've been letting him stay there a couple of days, whatever, a week, just because of commute and gas. But there has been no tenants or any for over 2 years, ever since we bought the property.
Okay. And they filled out one of these things?
I believe I did, and I put it down, yeah.
All right.
But I have no problem doing an affidavit or anything you might require.
Okay. That was just another concern. It's a relatively new ordinance that we passed a couple of years ago, just protecting tenants in the city of New York City.
I understand.
I want to take good housing out of
Yeah.
regulation.
With the application submittal, Mr. Bertling stated that there weren't tenants for 18 months previous to the application submittal.
Okay, and then this form was filled out for it, or?
Yes, I believe it should be in the file. Is that the one that's like the something exempt? Because if
No,
that's
it's just
not,
a-
I can
yeah.
take care of it.
It's
Yeah,
just
let me-
we can.
Yeah, I didn't see that exact form, but
You know
the
what?
information
I-
contained in that form is on a statement that Mr.
You know
Bertling
what?
provided.
I do not. Oh yeah, no. This.
Okay, well, we
Okay,
can figure
if,
that
if
out.
it's not there,
a
we'll take
statement,
care of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. No, I understand.
Did I open the public hearing? I'll open the public hearing. Did I? Okay. Well, there's no one in the audience, so that's good. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to address the staff hearing officer on this item? No? Have we received any letters? No letters. And you haven't? Okay, so I'll close the public hearing. Like we've discussed, Dan and I went out on the site and looked at the site, saw the story poles, and looked at the surrounding neighborhood. I saw actually the new condos up here. I was involved in that years ago.
It's still going on.
Yeah, I was surprised.
I'm.
How do they do that?
Yeah. But so I am familiar with the area. I've looked at projects before, and I drove around the back, so I thought that would be interesting to see what from San Andreas. I know that's a parking lot. It could be redeveloped at some time, but just what the visual effect would be. There's not really any significant public views. The proposed density is consistent with the general plan, is consistent with the zoning. I especially like the fact that you're not requesting any modifications.
Absolutely. I always tell my clients, don't
Yeah.
ask for any mods.
Yeah.
Because it just opens up a can of worms.
Yeah. So in the way they're designed, I like you're working with the Architecture Board of Review and all the detailing and stuff. So I can make the findings outlined in the staff report. I would like to. I don't know if it'd be a condition or I would like the ABR to really look at the privacy issues of the second-story balconies and whether that be enclosed, solid wall, additional landscape screening, but just work on that interface of the two properties, especially in regards to Unit C where it wraps around and it's kind of orientated that way. I know it's pointing up towards the driveway, but it is orientated that way being north. Technical terms. And then Unit B, the end railing, I know people, when they stand up, they'll still be able to look over, but if you're
Yes.
sitting out enjoying it, it's not right there
Yes.
staring at. So if...
That's easy to do.
Yeah.
We could add a condition to the under design
Oh, yes.
review to that effect if you wish.
Yeah, that's the appropriate place to put it because there is A calls out specific things that need to be looked at.
It also provides privacy from people on the adjacent properties looking up into your
Yes,
balcony.
right. It's,
So
yeah.
it's a two-edged sword.
It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah. So if we can add that as A3 would be good. Other than that, I agree with staff's recommendation that the public improvements need to be done as part of this project and not put off. So I can't support your request to delay them with the development of the adjacent parcel.
It's interesting.
I think it's good for everybody.
Did you see where this driveway would go?
Uh-huh.
It goes nowhere. There's no garage
Garage or
on the
driveway,
property.
yeah.
There's one car parked in the front yard setback
Right.
right here. So
Well, but we'll give them a driveway. I mean,
Yeah,
apron.
so-
And, yeah, that's.
I don't know the history of that property. I don't know if they're supposed to have a garage. We have a complaint-based enforcement
sure.
situation. So the fact that you've come forward with this project does not make us enforce on that project or anything. This
Sure,
is just
sure.
the improvements that have been
Right.
agreed upon. So.
Well, this way, though, the bulb will be consistent and complete. And
Although the owner yesterday said she didn't want a lot of paving and extra concrete
well,
back there.
that's not her problem. I mean,
Yeah.
the city is going to require that.
Did you?
It's a
did
pub-
you
yeah,
down?
that's
Yeah, it's a public domain.
Yeah, that's a public improvement, and that's something that
Fine.
you'd need to work out with the Public Works Department.
Sure.
Yeah.
We're not going to pave her driveway or anything. It's an extension of the sidewalk around.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's all in the right of way.
Yeah, so with that, I make the findings outlined in the staff report with the conditions with the added condition. I didn't amend any other ones, but with the added condition of A3. And my action, like you heard me on the other two projects, it's appealable within 10 calendar days, and the Planning Commission has oversight authority over all my actions. And if they were to call it up or we get an appeal, Dan would contact you.
Good.
All right.
Okay.
Well, very good. Thank you.
And I adjourn the meeting.
Well, that-